Welcome to There is a Method to the Madness. My name is Rob Maxwell. I'm an exercise physiologist and personal trainer. I'm the owner of Maxwell's fitness programs, and I've been in business since 1994. That is a long time trying to figure out all the madness that needs its methods, but I love doing it. I love fielding questions, and I'm going to piggyback on to the question I had the other day about how to gain muscle and how to lose fat at the same time. But this time I'm going to add on to that because I had a lot of great questions that came out of it. And a couple people have said that makes total sense to them. But how do you lose fat and at least maintain muscle? And that, my friends, is a lot more doable. So I'm going to talk about that, and I hope it helps you. I want to first thank Jonathan and Lynn Gilden of the Gilden Group at Realty Pros. They currently have over 280 five-star reviews on Zillow. They are consummate professionals. They are constantly selling houses, and they sell houses because they know what they're doing. If you need help, give them a shout, 386-451-2412. So, when we lose fat, which is a good thing if we need to for sure, how do we maintain muscle? And that is a great thing as well. Too often, and I talked about this a little bit in the last episode, when people lose fat, they lose too much muscle. Now, you're most likely, unless you're perfect, going to lose a little bit of muscle when you lose fat. And the more fat you lose, the faster you lose it, the more muscle you're actually going to lose. So we want to try to prevent that as much as possible. And it can be prevented. Now, the main thing we have to do as we are dieting, and I do get a little frustrated sometimes when people don't like to use the term dieting. It's like, okay, but we do have to diet to lose weight. In other words, a diet is a way that we eat for sure. Like if somebody says, how's your dog's diet? I seriously doubt anybody's going to say my dog eats 1,000 kilocalories of grain per day, right? You're going to mostly talk about, well, he or she eats a lot of dry food, sometimes some wet food, or she's on this type of diet, or she's on this, older senior dog diet or whatever. So we are going to talk about how we eat. Yes, of course, that's what diet ultimately means. But diet also means restriction as well. And there's just no way around it. Like when we need to lose weight, when we need to lose body fat, there's going to be restriction. We are not going to gain something and not give something up. So we're not going to gain greater fitness and gain weight loss and not give something up. That's just a very entitled way to think about it, right? Like, I don't want to do this, but I want to get this. It just doesn't work that way. To lose weight, we have to give something up. We have to give up the amount of calories we were eating. And for each individual, they know where those quote bad, unquote calories were coming from. Maybe it was too much alcohol. Maybe it was too many cheese and crackers. Maybe it was too much candy. Maybe it was too much chips. Maybe it was too much beef or high fatty foods. I don't know. But you are going to have to give something up to gain. So that's just, it goes without saying. So, get over it, my friends. We're going to use the word diet and you're going to try not to be offended. So when we diet and we lose weight, we most likely will lose some muscle. Our objective is to lose the least amount of muscle that we can lose. Because when we lose muscle, we actually lower our metabolism. That is going to happen. That is the primary driver of your metabolism is muscle mass. So, for example, each pound of muscle leads to a difference of about 50 calories per day. That's significant. So If you are currently on a RMR of, say, 1,300 calories a day, that is your basal metabolic rate, and you lose a pound of muscle, well, now you can be down to 1,250. So that could be significant. So we absolutely don't want to lose the muscle. We want to maintain the muscle. Like, we know in following like the prescriptions of the American College of Sports Medicine, like as exercise physiologists helping people with weight loss, like that is our primary objective. How do we help people lose weight, primarily fat, and not lose as much muscle? So maintain as much muscle as possible. That is our objective. So we have studied it, we have looked at it, and we absolutely know how to do that. It's not easy to apply, it's not easy to do, but we know how to do it. So the first thing is we have to lose our fat slowly. If we go on a crash diet and we lose fat in a short period of time, like let's say, many people, especially people of heavier builds, they can lose up to 7 pounds a week. A lot of it's water, some of it's fat, some of it's muscle. But that's very fast weight, right? They can lose 30 pounds in a month. I would argue that probably 15 pounds of that is muscle and 15 pounds of that is fat. We factor some of that out for water, but you get the point. So a lot of it, at least 50% of that is muscle. That's way too much. And why did that happen? Because the person restricted too much and lost too much weight. That's one of the reasons why that happens. Now, a little side note. A lot of people are taking the weight loss drugs, for example, Ozempic and those other types, which really, I shouldn't even call them that because they're really diabetes drugs. But there are some primarily just for weight loss, but they're Ozempic types, appetite suppressants for the most part. And a lot of people, I don't know the exact percentages yet. I don't think anybody knows the exact percentages yet because a lot of people aren't being honest about their weight loss, but there's a lot of people taking them. So one of the major downsides to that is that they're losing a lot of muscle when they're losing the weight. There's a lot of atrophying going on. And in our world, it's being termed skinny fat. So people are losing weight, losing a lot of muscle. Definitely not a healthy way to go. Definitely a fast weight loss. And again, when we see the fast weight loss, we see a lot of loss of muscle. So we're seeing that a lot with these drugs, unfortunately. All right. So end of side note. If your doctor tells you absolutely need to do it, then you need to listen to your doctor. But I caution people who are making their own calls on that. Maybe not the best thing to do from what we understand about it at this point. So the first thing is we lose our weight slowly. Best thing we can do if we need to lose, say, 20 pounds is to try to take off 1 to 2 pounds a week. That is ideal. And in the background, you can hear like we're getting busy lifting weights. And that's really the main thing we can do to maintain muscle mass as we are losing weight. And that is to strength train. So number 1, lose fat, lose weight slowly. Number 2, strength train. Studies show when people strength train while they're losing weight, they maintain their muscle tissue far more than if they didn't. So when people diet alone, meaning no changes in exercise or activity, they will lose weight, they will lose fat. Sure, they're going to lose a lot of muscle. When people do it the old, fashion way, so to say, where they diet, meaning again, restricting calories, and cardio, like that's what people do and they want to drop a lot of weight, whether it be boxers in the old days, not anymore. Now we know better. Wrestlers, whatever. It's a lot of cardio, burn those calories, dehydrate yourself and restrict calories, burn it up, right? Well, that's even more problematic for muscle mass. So now you lose even more muscle mass. I mean, when people overdo their cardio, like too hard and too long, they're cutting into their muscle supplies anyway. So that's not good to begin with. And when you're restricting calories, it's even worse. So that's the worst thing to do as far as maintenance of your muscle mass. So then, of course, if that's the worst, then the best thing to do as you're dieting is to strength train. If we strength train while we're restricting calories, studies show we won't lose nearly as much muscle mass as we would if we didn't strength train. I mean, plain and simple. Strength train just like you would, not a special way. I mean, that's so silly when people think, oh, high repetitions leads to toning and weight loss, and low repetitions lead to bulking and weight gain. No, none of that's true. I mean, if you're working your muscles near exhaustion, then they're going to, quote, grow, unquote, no matter what the rep ranges are. It has nothing to do with rep ranges. The key is that we strength train whatever our program is, and hopefully we're already on a good program of moderate weights and moderate loads and moderate reps and all that good stuff, 2 to 3 times a week of nice consistent strength training. If we do that while we're restricting calories, we are going to lose weight effectively and maintain our muscle mass to the best of our ability. We'll still lose some. I mean, we can't lose just fat. I mean, it's nearly impossible. Doable, but definitely not practical. And yes, we should still be doing our cardio, of course, but cardio shouldn't be our predominant means of losing weight. Diet is. Cardio should be for strengthening our heart, improving our endurance, improving our overall fitness. I love cardio. But when we overdo it, over-restrict our eating, and we don't strength train, we're losing a lot of muscle. Not good. And then finally, we do need to pay attention to our quality of calories if we want to maintain our muscle mass. If we're not taking in enough protein, and it doesn't have to be a ton, just enough. If we're not taking in enough, there's not enough protein there to repair the muscle fibers. So again, as we begin to atrophy and restrict calories, we lose more weight if the macronutrients aren't there. So protein's one. And the other is good complex carbohydrates. That's what feeds the muscle. So if those properties aren't there, your body's actually going to go into your muscle cells to provide the carbohydrate, to provide the adenosine triphosphate, the ATP, for fuel. And we call that gluconeogenesis. So when we're on a low carb diet, that's what happens. Our body feeds off of itself. So we can't be on a low carb diet. Lower calorie, yes, but still enough good carbohydrates such as whole grains, fruits, and vegetables, and enough lean proteins, meaning whether you get them plant-based or you get them through animal products, but it should still be lean. Fatty proteins don't do anything for us except make us more fat because we're taking in all that caloric density of fat. All right. So this was a nice add-on to the other podcast, and it really clears it up, right? I mean, like I said, it's just comes down to having to do what we need to do. Lose the weight slowly, strength train, and make sure we're eating adequate protein and adequate good carbs. And then we're doing all in our power. And then we just have to turn the rest over there. All right. Thank you, Overhead Door of Daytona Beach, the area's premier garage door company. You know what? They go up, they go down. That's what we want, right? That's all we want. We want the stupid thing to work, right? And when we have an overhead door, it works. That's the best thing I can say about them. Give them a shout, overheaddordaytona.com.